Welcome everyone to our gut healing program. This is the introductory to the program, which officially will start on Monday, but we want to give you an introduction today so that we can give you all the tools and answer any questions about what the program entails, and more importantly, how we can use that as practitioners to also help not only ourselves but also our clients. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on this Friday. My name is Christine Bailey, and I'm one of the practitioner support team at Nutri-Link, who are involved in obviously this whole program. Now, what I'd like to just mention, if you're not used to doing webinars, you'll see the panel, the control panel. Halfway down, there is a section which is questions. And you can at any time put a question in there for me, and I will answer those either at the end or as we go along. So if you can hopefully see that, just type in a question, or if you are having any problems accessing the slides or seeing the slides, just give us a note as well. You will find as well that the handouts to all of the slides are actually attached. So you should find lower down, there will be a PDF of these slides. So you can save these and you've got these long term. We will also be posting all of the information for you on the Facebook page as well. Can I just check that everyone can hear me? Can I just check that everyone can hear me? We have had a few problems in the past about volume and so on, but I'm just going to check that everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, can you put a little note in the question box so that we can just see that everything is running okay? So welcome everyone to our gut healing program. This is a 4-week program. And the idea is that we will give you as many resources as possible to help you with your own health, your own digestive health, but also, of course, your clients. And this is really what we want to give you, is the tools and resources to really help your clients. So thank you everyone for saying that you can hear me. It's always good to know. So the gut healing program, if you have already been involved in our detox program this year, you'll know the sort of structure that these programs entail. You should have already received an overview of the program with the details of the supplements, the gut healing book, the PDF of Beat the Bloat book, and the meal plan and the additional recipes as well. If you haven't, it may be because you've only just signed on. Leah will be sending all of that to you. Obviously, the book will be posted, so do allow a couple of days if you haven't received that. So today I want to give you an overview of the program, details of the supplements, and also answer any queries about the supplements and why we have chosen those ones as well. And then I want to look at a little bit of the program in terms of the meal plan, the recipes, the approach that we are going to be taking, which is very much a functional medicine approach, and then just some revision on the digestive system, and more importantly, signs that may be out of balance, which is really useful when we're having consultations with our clients, so we know which area we're going to be focusing on. And really, as a lot of you will know, the gut is a primary area where we are going to be addressing time and time again in our clinical practice. And not only for obvious digestive problems, but for the fact that imbalances in the gut can affect multiple organs and body systems. And really, attention to the gut can be one of the first ways we can see a longer term success in our clients' health in terms of their health symptoms, but also long-term conditions, particularly autoimmune conditions that they may be struggling with. Our gut produces 3/4 of the neurotransmitters, and that's why there's so much attention now to supporting gut health with mind, mood, and brain function. It contains 2/3 of our immune tissue. So if you're dealing with clients with not only autoimmune conditions, but also numerous allergies, and thinking this time of the year, seasonal allergies, hay fever, asthma often kicks in, eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, a lot of these conditions we can help with by addressing the innate immune system in our gut. It is incredibly metabolically active. It has a greater activity in fat than the liver. And of course, as a lot of you will know, plays a key role in detoxification as well, particularly if you think about the role it plays with levels of beta-glucuronidase and the role that has with recirculating hormones such as estrogen, for example. And also, you will probably know, if you see clients on a regular basis, that this is one of the most common complaints. Up to 70% of Europeans will have gut symptoms or a disease related to the gut. It is a very sensitive organ. There are multiple insults day in, day out, which can lead to common imbalances. And often when we address those imbalances, we can see a lot of improvements in all types of health conditions. And poor digestive health has been linked to a range of health complaints. We've mentioned allergies, asthma, digestive distress, inflammatory bowel disease, nutritional deficiencies, celiac disease, but also autoimmune conditions per se. And irritable bowel syndrome is now thought to affect 1 in 5 people. And that can cause a wide range of health conditions, such as abdominal cramping. It can cause changes in bowel movements, bloating, and psychological symptoms such as anxiety and depression. There's a lot of research now into the psychological effects that ongoing digestive symptoms can cause. But also when we look at gut permeability, and we will have a whole webinar on the gut and gut permeability. And this is now thought to be a major contributing factor to the progression of autoimmune diseases, but also systemic inflammation. And this is relevant for clients who may, for example, be gym goers or semi-professional athletes who are training incredibly hard, because training itself can cause temporarily a production of heat shock proteins, which can then cause intestinal permeability. And if that athlete is effectively overtraining without restoring the health of the gut lining and allowing that time for rest and recovery, then gut permeability can be a key role for many athletes or people that are exercising hard. We also know that the diversity of your gut flora plays a key role now in many factors such as weight loss, mood, even sleep patterns, and we'll look at that later on in the series of webinars. So this is just one of the papers that really looked at the role intestinal permeability has in terms of its link to a whole range of conditions such as autoimmune conditions as well. And bear in mind as well that imbalances in our gut flora can I just check, Preeta, that you can see the slides now, because we are moving the slides, but I'm concerned that you can't see the slides. Can you just let me know that you can see the slides for us? So just to recap, the gut permeability can also lead to an ongoing fatigue. And the reason for that is that if there is bacterial overgrowth and there is a production of endotoxins, then these endotoxins are able to enter the bloodstream and as a consequence can cause systemic inflammation, and in some cases can also then cause mitochondrial dysfunction, which can then lead to effectively fatigue or energy dips. So for some clients, their energy will actually be worse after eating because they're getting this translocation of endotoxins from bacteria that are then fermenting on that food. So for some clients, this can be a real issue. So our microbiota, we know now that our microbiome consists of at least 100 trillion bacteria. The diversity and the number of these bacteria is influenced by a whole range of things, including your birth, whether you were C-section, whether you were natural birth, whether you were breastfed, the environment that you were brought up in. For example, we now know that children who, for example, are exposed to dirt or live on farms have a less risk of developing certain allergies, including asthma. So the environment that we are brought up in, the lifestyle that we lead, the type of food that we eat, whether we're more of a plant eater or a meat eater, can greatly influence the diversity of our bacteria. And we'll look at diversity in one of the webinars, because actually simple changes to your diet can have a profound effect very quickly on that diversity. And you're probably familiar with Map My Gut, which was Tim Spector's sort of work that he did at King's College, where he was looking at diversity and how various changes in your diet could have quite an influence on the microflora. And that can have quite a profound effect, for example, on weight loss now, inflammation, and also even sleep patterns as well. So we will be looking at diversity of flora, because we often get a little bit obsessed with just individual genesis or phyla or species. And actually the research is now pointing that it's the diversity of flora which can be particularly relevant. So let's look at the gut healing program that you are all going to embark on. As a lot of you will know, the functional medicine approach undergoes a stage-by-stage healing approach. It's remove, replenish, re-inoculate, repair, and rebalance. And you'll all be familiar with those, but it's worth us just going over these. Remove is looking at what does the patient have too much of? And that could involve diet. It could be that they're eating too much saturated fats or alcohol or sugars. Maybe they are eating foods that they are actually sensitive to. Maybe they have a gut infection that we need to address. Maybe it's actually stress, and that could be a perceived stress, or it could be a physical stress, such as physical training, for example. So that's the first area that we have to attack for ourselves, but also our clients. And that may involve stool testing, and we will talk about stool testing in quite a lot of detail. The next area is replace. What is it that the client is lacking? Now, for some clients, that may be that they're on such a refined diet that their fiber is very low, for example. And that's going to be crucial for motility of the gut, and also long-term supporting beneficial bacteria and the short-chain fatty acids that they are being produced. It may be that they are lacking certain nutrients that are so critical for the health of the gut lining or even the production of stomach acid or digestive enzymes. For example, zinc, which is commonly low in a lot of clients, including vegetarians and vegans. And it's crucial for the production of hydrochloric acid and also digestive enzymes. It's also important for the gut lining. Then do we need to repopulate? So are we going to be recommending the use of certain probiotic foods that may be useful on a daily basis? Do we need to add in a probiotic? And do we also need to encourage them to eat prebiotic foods that will help the commensal bacteria to proliferate? Remember that some probiotics will be transient. So really what we want to do is encourage a daily consumption of probiotic foods and prebiotic foods. And then repair. Do we need to support the gut lining? Has it been irritated by certain foods or stress or bacteria or parasites or yeast infections? Do we need to calm down the inflammation as well as repair the gut lining? And that's where certain foods that are rich in vitamins A and D in particular, and zinc, and also nutrients such as glutamine, colostrum, can be incredibly important. And then we need to look at rebalance, because one of the areas that we know can have a constant impact on our gut is our mental and emotional well-being. And this is where we may need to look at techniques and lifestyle approaches to address stress, to address the timing of eating or how people are eating, for example. And that's one area that, again, we will look at. So the program that you have, the length of the program, we have set it as 4 weeks. That's really so that we can take you through all the information, all the supplements and the recipes over a reasonable program. But as you will know, if you or a client has a gut infection, it may be that the eradication stage, the remove stage, is going to be much longer than that. Often, for example, with the ADP or other antimicrobials, we would be recommending at least 4 weeks on that bit alone. So obviously the length of the program is going to vary depending on the individual imbalances or the clients anyway, their own health history, their own background. But one of the ways that this program can be very useful is that you are giving the client a step-by-step approach. This helps with compliance. It also allows the client to understand what the procedure for the next couple of months is going to be. So it's a really good way of motivating the client and informing the client of the step-by-step approach. It's always important to address the aggravating factors first. If you do not remove the triggers, there is no point you healing the gut. So you have to do the remove and also ensure that the stomach acid and digestive enzymes are appropriate. And this is also where testing may be very useful. This may be SIBO testing, which we will be talking about. It may be stool testing. It may be food sensitivity testing or celiac testing. So that can also inform your choice of supplements, of antimicrobials, and also of dietary approaches. So what you should have is you should have, first of all, a 4-week meal plan to follow. If by any chance you haven't got these, we will be uploading all of this onto the Facebook page. You should have received the supplements. There are 4 supplements you should have received. If you haven't, please don't panic. Leah, I'm sure, has put them in the post. They are on their way. But you also should have received some additional recipe resources. You should have a copy of the Gut Health book. You should have a PDF of Beats the Bloat, which is low FODMAP recipes. And you should also have an additional sheet, which is more tailored for vegan and vegetarian options as well. You should have received access to the closed Facebook page. Now, if you've joined us on, for example, the detox or the brain programs in the past, you'll know how these work. This is a closed Facebook page. Only those on the program can see the Facebook page and all the questions and all the resources. This Facebook page is designed for you to send me any questions you like, to post recipes that you are making, and to feedback on any questions from the webinars. But also, if you yourselves have had food allergy testing done, stool testing done, SIBO testing done, you can send those to me either through my Nutri-Link email, or you can actually upload them, if you don't mind other people seeing them, onto the Facebook page, and I will help you through those test results. So it's a really good avenue for you to get more information, more research on gut healing and associated conditions. So for example, if you are seeing clients at the moment with inflammatory bowel disease, with navicular disease, with celiac, with gut infections, please use that Facebook page to post questions, and we will give you the support and resources you need. I will also be sending you links to various videos to show you how you can make your own coconut yogurt, for example, or sauerkraut or kimchi or other dishes that may be very useful for you as well. So the reason we have this webinar today is to allow you time to prepare this weekend for the meal plans that we have produced. And this may well mean that you could use this time to make up the granola recipe, the caponata, which is a fabulous recipe, and you can tweak that for vegan, for low FODMAP, paleo, whatever. To make up some gluten-free breads, to make up some of the blueberry almond bread, which is a paleo bread, maybe to get some of the soups going. If you want to make your own fermented foods, then there's a whole range of recipes in the gut health book. So this is a really good weekend for you to make up some of these recipes, share them on the Facebook page as well, so that you feel ready and prepared. And for us as practitioners, going through this whole process is a really easy way of being able to then support our clients, who we may then put through this whole process as well. Just to mention, all the recipes are gluten-free. There are additional vegan options, and if you have a lot of bloating, then I would suggest for the first couple of weeks you follow low FODMAP food recipes. And that's why we have given you the Beat the Bloat, because I do feel that for a lot of people, too much fermentable fibre, if they've got a gut infection, is really not going to help them at all. And so do have a look at the low FODMAP recipe book. It gives you a whole list of the foods that are safe on low FODMAPs and those that are high FODMAPs that to avoid. And it gives you recipes as well that you can use. And then, of course, you can modify it. So if you want to be paleo, we've got plenty of paleo recipes there. If you want to be vegan, there are vegan recipes. Just one caveat: if you are trying to be vegan and low FODMAP, it is more difficult. And I would suggest, if you do want to do that, then you might want to get a good pea protein isolate powder, because proteins are much more limited vegan. You can use tofu, you can use tempeh, you could even use corn if you wanted to, which is low FODMAP, but obviously the beans and pulses are going to be very high FODMAP and so would not really be suitable. You might be all right with making your own dal with red split lentils, but a lot of the beans and pulses you're going to find are very bloaty. Again, if you want dairy-free options, coconut kefir, coconut yogurt, almond and cashew nut yogurt, and we've given you recipes for that. If you can't find any recipes, please just post on Facebook and I will send you links, because we've got all of those resources for you, so please don't worry. Now, some people also find that it can be a very useful idea to do some fasting. This is optional. Obviously, if you don't want to lose a lot of weight, you may not want to do this, but by giving the gut a rest can actually be very, very useful. And I do use fasting a lot with my clients. The easiest one is what we call time restricted eating, which I don't really consider fasting at all. But all this means is that you allow yourself 12 to 14 hours of not eating overnight. So in reality, if, for example, you finished your evening meal at 7 o'clock, you would wait until at least 7 a.m., ideally 9 or 10 a.m. before having your breakfast. So you're allowing that time for your digestive system to rest and to process, and the liver to function. And there's been a lot of great studies now on time restricted eating for things like blood glucose control, for lowering inflammation such as C-reactive protein. So it's an easy option for ourselves and for clients. It means you can still drink in the evening, by the way, but just no late time snacking, for example, which is very common. Now, for some clients, it's not always easy. I was seeing a client this morning who often wouldn't get home to 8 o'clock at night, but she's managed to tweak her diet so that she has more of a snack around about 5 or 6, and then a much lighter meal as she gets in from work. And that's helped her digestion an awful lot. It's not always possible for some clients, but we do encourage it. Now, the other approaches are intermittent fasting, which is often known as the 5-2 approach, where a couple of days a week, you may, for example, skip your breakfast and have lunch and dinner within an 8-hour window, and that overall calorie allowance is around about 500-600 calories. And again, that has been very useful for lowering inflammation, supporting digestion, balancing blood glucose. For other clients, they actually like to do a week, which is called the fasting mimicking diet. I don't know whether you are familiar with this one, but this was, it has been featured in a lot of the main press. And again, there's a lot of good research out on this now. In the UK, the commercial brand is called Prolon. It started off in the States, and obviously, you know, they're making quite a lot of money by providing nutritional packs for clients to take over 5 days. And the fasting mimicking diet is really where for 5 days every month, you eat around about 7, maybe 800 calories a day, and it's mainly plant-based, and under the recommendations, there are specific guidelines on how much protein, carbs and fat you eat, but essentially the idea is that you restrict your calories to about 700 or 800, and you eat much more plants, so the protein is slightly lower, and this has been shown to help with cancer. It's been shown to help with C-reactive protein, blood glucose, diabetes, a whole range of things. So that's another approach that some people find can be very beneficial. And one area that has been investigated for is obviously to improve telomeres for long-term support for aging, for example. So it's an option that I wanted to flag up, but not necessarily have to do it. And for some clients, it may not actually be appropriate. So let's have a look at the supplements that you should have received. So the first few weeks, you're going to be taking 3 of those supplements. The full spectrum digest, which is our digestive enzyme, broad spectrum, which you'll take at every meal. And then the antimicrobial of choice is ADP oregano. This is, in my mind, one of the best antimicrobials for a wide range of yeast, gut infections from bacteria, and also parasites. The recommended dose is anything from 2 to 4 tablets with every meal. I would suggest you take it with a meal. For some people, they might feel that they get a little bit of reflux if they take it on an empty stomach. And then at bedtime, we're encouraging you to take the Biobifidus bacteria powder, which is one of the few probiotics that is suitable on a low FODMAP diet because it does not contain any FOS or inulin or prebiotic. So it won't cause bloating. So it's a really nice one if you do have a client that needs to follow a low FODMAP diet. And then when we hit the final week, you'll see that we add in the gut healing support. This is the IPS capsules, which we will go through in a minute, but it's a very effective one for overall gut healing support and also lowering inflammation. So you should have access to the product information sheets if you want more information on them. But the digestive enzyme that we have chosen is a vegan one. It's full spectrum digest from Allergy Research. I find it very useful when you are not sure if they are struggling with any particular types of foods, i.e. fats, proteins or carbs. It's a great broad spectrum one. And will also be very useful as well for people who may, for example, struggle with fatty foods. The probiotic is the one that I've mentioned that's suitable on a low FODMAP diet. And because it's a bifidodin bacteria powder one, it's also very useful if you need to support the production of short-chain fatty acids. Bifidobacterium bacteria can also be very useful for supporting peristalsis of the gut. So for clients who are slightly constipated, it can be a very natural way of supporting bowel movements and peristalsis. And then the ADP oregano, I find very effective for a whole range of bacteria, including autoimmune bacteria triggers and yeast and parasites, including blasto. In fact, there has been a study on ADP oregano and blastocystis. So it's a very useful one for a wide range of gut infections. And then the IPS, which is the comprehensive intestinal permeability support, includes a range of nutrients that we know can help with gut healing. And I will talk in specific terms in one of the webinars on all the nutrients that have been shown in the research to be helpful for gut healing. It contains L-glutamine, which is very useful for the intestinal epithelial cells, but also in promoting secretory IgA. Glucosamine sulfate, which is an amino sugar, very effective as a building block for connective tissue and the intestinal mucosa. Glutathione, which is important for lowering overall inflammation. Gamma oryzanzo, which again, a very useful antioxidant, which has been shown to support the integrity of the gut lining and lower inflammation. And it also includes tillandrol, which is a moss, which is very rich in various vitamins and minerals to support the gut healing, and also Jerusalem artichoke, which is a well-known prebiotic. So in the last section, I just want to go over the primary functions of the gut, but also where we might suspect imbalances in our clients. And this can be really useful just to remind ourselves which area are we wanting to focus on for our clients. So our gut has a range of primary functions, not just digestion or absorption of nutrients. It hosts 70% of the immune response. It's particularly important for oral tolerance, where our body, our immune system, recognizes food and other antigens that are safe and those that are not. And when there is a breakdown in oral tolerance, this is where we will have allergic reactions and atopic conditions such as asthma, rhinitis, oral allergy syndrome, eczema, and so on. So again, where there has been that breakdown, That is why the gut will need to be one of the first areas that we would want to address, for example, with a client with eczema. So the first area is digestion, and this is where our body will be involved in several stages. Starts in the mouth with mastication, so that's why we often want to ask our clients to slow down their eating, to take time, to not be eating on the go. We need sufficient HCl. We then need sufficient pancreatic enzymes. We need good bile support. We need the appropriate health of our brush border enzymes and our epithelial cells in order to help with nutritional absorption and digestion. So the first area is enzyme production. That will start in the mouth with amylase and lysozyme. We then need sufficient HCl and pepsin, and then pancreatic enzymes as well as the bile acid. And one of the first areas that we often see imbalances is actually the stomach. And the stomach, often as we age, of course, our levels of stomach acid will decline. But if we don't produce enough hydrochloric acid and pepsin, then it's very difficult for us to be producing the amount of then enzymes and bile salts to effectively break down and digest our food. And obviously it starts with particularly protein in the stomach. But if there is an imbalance in our stomach acid, then that can have quite a profound effect on key nutrients, particularly things like iron, calcium, zinc, B12. And of course, we are not going to be eliminating potential pathogens, which can often be then a problem in our small intestine and also our colon. Now, the signs of imbalance in the stomach are quite numerous, but the obvious ones are things like that feeling of heaviness after eating, bloating shortly after eating, bad breath, heartburn, burping, belching. And also, for some clients, it may actually be that they don't really feel that hungry. So they feel, that they could easily skip breakfast. They actually might even feel better if they don't eat. When they do eat, they may feel very sleepy. They may also have problems with anemia. They may also find that their fingernails chip very easily, and they may even see undigested food in their stools. So if this is the case, you may want to be looking at, do I need to investigate infections in the stomach, such as H. pylori? Do I need to support stomach acid? Or even digestive enzymes with pepsin in particular. The next section where we often see imbalances is, of course, the small intestine. And this is a crucial area because this is where a lot of the absorption is taking place. We have three distinct areas, the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. And absorption of different nutrients occurs in different stages of the small intestine. It is very influenced by the functioning of our stomach, our gallbladder, and our pancreas. So if there are imbalances in those as well, then there can be problems with, for example, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which we will be talking about in quite a lot of detail. This slide, I think, is very useful because it actually shows you where food is broken down and digested. And for those clients of yours that may, for example, have celiac, inflammatory bowel, colitis Crohn's, where some of the small intestine has been affected, or even they've had a bowel resection, it can give you a very good idea as to which nutrients may be lacking. For example, the ileum, which is the lower part of the small intestine, is where bile salts, B12, vitamin K are particularly important. Vitamins A and D, however, are more absorbed in the duodenum. So again, by knowing potentially which areas of the small intestine may be inflamed or affected, it may help you to work out which likely vitamins and minerals may be actually being malabsorbed, for example. And then, of course, we have the colon after that, which is much more involved with movement of the feces rather than actual absorption of key nutrients. Now, the signs of imbalances in the small intestine can often be, in a way, similar to the stomach. So abdominal bloating will often happen very quickly after eating, 1 to 2 hours after eating. People often find that specific foods will make them very tired as well. They may feel that they have sinus congestions or stuffy head. They may be sensitive to particular foods such as dairy, gluten. They may have inflammatory bowel disease. They may have issues with atopic conditions and food allergies, for example. They may get hives or a histamine reaction. So these would all be signs that you may want to look at the small intestine, and that may be that they have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and that you may want to investigate that with testing such as hydrogen breath testing, which we will be talking about in other webinars. Now, for a lot of people, stool testing is where we are looking for infections in the large intestine. This is the area where water is reabsorbed back into the body. There is bacterial synthesis of certain nutrients, such as vitamin K, B12, certain B vitamins, but also this is where the production of short-chain fatty acids is a major important part of gut health. And this is why adequate fibre is crucially important for the production of things like butyric acid, for example, and these are major fuel sources for the cells that make up our colonic mucosa. So the short-chain fatty acids are a crucial part of not only lowering inflammation in the colon, but also supporting the health of the cells as well. Major areas of dysfunction will often be chronic inflammation, constipation, diarrhea, but it could lead to a whole range of symptoms, including an itchy anus, feeling worse when you're in certain moldy or yeasty or musty places. It may be that they have alternating diarrhea, constipation, blood in the stools, again, bad breath, cramping, abdominal cramping, but also things like floating stools, particularly if you suspect there may be an issue with bile flow, for example. And this is where a stool test can be very useful in identifying imbalances. So the GI tract has a whole range of connected areas involved with digestion, intestinal permeability, inflammation, the immune response, the nervous system, our stress response. And that's why addressing the health of the gut is crucially important for a lot of long-term health conditions that our clients may be facing us with. So that is just an overview of the gut and the gut program. We will be looking very particularly at the remove section with FODMAPs, SIBO, gut infections this Monday. So it will be our webinar 2 on Monday at 12 o'clock, where we'll look very specifically at gut infections and the small intestine and FODMAPs and so on. So if you have yourself any questions about your own stool tests, SIBO tests, or client tests, please remember, use the Facebook page. Email me if you want it to be more private, but we are here to help you with any of your own health conditions or your clients that you are seeing at the moment in relation to gut health. Are there any questions about the program generally, or whether or not you've got the right supplements or the material ready? Remember that we will be posting additional resources as well on the Facebook page all the time, and we will be uploading the recipes, the meal plan and so on on the Facebook page, just so you've got that there in case you haven't or you've mislaid it in any way. So I hope you're going to enjoy our gut healing program. It's a great program to go through yourself, but also to then have that tool to use with your clients in a step-by-step approach. And you've got all those extra resources there, which I really hope you will make use of. So thank you everyone for your time this Friday. I look forward to speaking with you through the Facebook page and also for our next webinar on Monday at 12 o'clock. Thank you everyone.